Welcome to Subramani. Two videos which I love making are how to improve as an investor and what are the investing mistakes which people make. Obviously, these videos will have some overlap with the previous videos which I have made, and maybe some others have also made such videos. So let me just start. Mistake number one, choosing a wrong advisor. Now many people believe that they don't need an advisor, which means I am calling them self-advised. So there are 3-4 categories. One is self-advised. Second is those who think that all the investment that they need can be got on YouTube free or on any other social media. You read blogs, you read books, and you watch YouTube videos, and you have learned everything about investing, and there is nothing more to know. Or three, believing that they've got the right advisor because of some process that they have in place, which may not be a very robust process. So why am I saying that? First, because getting a wrong advisor can harm your portfolio much more than anything else that can. And very many advisors have no clue about investing, advising, or taxation, right? So if you don't know any of these things, how are you going to be a good advisor? So getting a good advisor, choosing a good advisor is a longish process. I may have made videos on this, I've written blogs on this, there are books written on how to choose a good advisor. And to believe that you don't need good advice is again dramatically wrong, because even people who know that they must invest, that they must buy a term insurance, somebody needs to pull them, push them, prod them to make those things happen. So if you are a person who is extremely well motivated, well educated, willing to spend a lot of time doing this, and you have no great other hobbies, and you're willing to do the painful documentation, I find it very painful dealing with the investment documentation, including lost shares and lost dividends and things like that, then maybe investing is not for you. Maybe you need an advisor. So choosing a good advisor is step number one. Many of us make a mistake of choosing a wrong advisor. YouTube is not an advisor. Social media is not an advisor. Even at best they can be generic advice. Equities is good in the long run. Does not mean that when you enter and when you exit you will always make money which is a good real return. No such guarantees are available. Your advisor should tell you that, right? So that's the step one. Many people who advise you to invest in index funds are actually selling funds other than index funds. Like even a mutual fund which has an index fund, it has an index fund because they know some people believe that they should put money only in index fund. But even those fund houses are not too keen to be selling index funds. They want to sell other funds, and which is fair enough. But while giving advice, a lot of people on YouTube will say you should not have many large cap funds, many mid cap funds, many small cap funds. Perfectly correct. But there can be a very focused 20 share large cap fund and a very longish 80 shares large cap fund. So for your father it may be good to put in that 80 shares large cap fund, and for you may be better off putting in a 20 shares focused large cap fund, or the same person could hold both. Yes, there could be some overlap, but this person who is handling a smaller focused large cap fund will pick up only those shares which he think are good for the portfolio over the next 2 years or 3 years. He is not taking a very long term view, and he is taking a view that it's okay if I have higher standard deviation, I want to get a higher absolute return over a long period of time after adjusting for expenses and tax, right, and inflation of course. Now understanding why each fund has is you have to understand the philosophy of the fund, read the fund, and be willing to be invested in that fund for maybe 5 years or 6 years, right? So if you don't know why you are picking up a fund, if you don't know what is the overlap, and there could be an overlap today and that overlap may disappear tomorrow. Today somebody may be very long in HDFC Limited or HDFC Bank, now it's only HDFC Bank in a matter of time, then you will not know why he or she has invested, and you may say, oh, there is tremendous overlap, let me get out of this. and the next month you find that their portfolios are different. So finding the overlap, do you need to remove all the overlap? These are questions which a good advisor will be able to tell you. Don't expect answers for this on YouTube channels, etc. Because yes, I can say there should not be any overlap, but you should also find out why there is an overlap. When there is an overlap, will the overlap go away, right? Only when you have answers to all these questions will you be able to invest very smartly. Just don't believe that, oh, you should not have more than one large cap fund. Maybe you should have. Maybe you should not have large cap fund, you should have index fund. Maybe you should not have index fund, maybe you should have ETF. Or maybe you should invest in those good quality shares directly, and for small cap you should have a small cap fund, right? Make your own choices, but make it sensibly. One very important mistake that I see people make is waiting for the right time. In Tamil there is a saying that you wait for the waves to stop before you get into the sea. You can't do it, right? There is no perfect time. If you invest today and the market falls 10%, tomorrow 20%, 30%, you never know. We are in the world full of humans, right? So anybody can have a heart attack. Anybody can lose elections, anybody can win elections, right? So technically, is it possible that Rahul Gandhi could become the Prime Minister of India? Well, technically it is possible. What will happen to the economy? I have no clue. Maybe we have zero expectation, therefore we might exceed expectation. Maybe a good cabinet will run it. I have no clue. I am not even guessing what will happen. Will the same Modi government continue for the next 30, 40, 50, 100 years? I have no clue. But Congress was there for 50 years. So will BJP be there for 50 years? We don't know. Don't try keep guessing, oh, this has happened, that has happened, should I cut the tree? Right? I keep saying, don't ask for what is a good time to cut the tree. You want the wood, you cut the tree. But cutting the tree makes no sense. Just collect the mangoes that you want, right? So similarly, don't wait for the perfect time to invest. The perfect time to invest was maybe 300 years ago, 400 years ago, 200 years ago. Somebody in your family could have bought a lot of land and kept it, bought gold and kept it, and it would have appreciated it. They didn't invest, or they did invest and they have used it up. So your father could have invested 50 years ago, 60 years ago, or you could have invested 10 years ago, 15 years ago. You didn't. So today is the best time to start without worrying about what the market will do. Yes, because you're a newcomer, you should do an SIP or you should do an SGP. Suddenly you've got 1 crore somewhere, some inheritance. Put it in a liquid fund, wait for a month and then start doing an STP, maybe 1 lakh per month, because you are new to the market. Today, if I get an X amount of money, straight away I may go and buy one single share, immaterial of the amount, because the question is what is a big amount, right? So when you started your life with a 3,000 rupee SIP, 3,000 was a big amount because that is the only amount that you could save 20 years back or 25 years back. But today, let us say your portfolio is worth 2 crores and your monthly salary is about say 3 lakhs, right? So what is a lump sum for you is very different. When your portfolio is big and somebody comes and gives you 5 lakhs, that is less than 2 months income. And anyway, you're doing maybe 2 lakhs of SIP. So adding another 5 lakhs to one of your schemes is not going to change things much. So what is a big amount? What is a small amount? What you should do lump sum? What you should do SIP keeps changing. So don't worry too much about those things. If you have a method, then it's a different thing. When should you invest? You should invest today. If that is the only answer. Don't keep asking everybody, what do you think will happen to UP election? What will happen to Tamil Nadu election? I'm saying that because I know none of the elections are due now, but you could have UP election, you could have Gujarat election, you could have Delhi election, you could have Karnataka election. Something will keep happening in this country. That's got nothing to do with the market. Maybe that day, the day the results come, market could fall, market could rise, something could happen. But a day-to-day fluctuation should not bother a long-term investor. Be very clear. Are you an investor or are you a trader? I'm assuming you're a mutual fund investor. Then SIP works for you. Do 10-year, 12-year SIP, 3-year SIPs to keep reviewing what is happening, right? So if you don't want to do all that, then there is an index fund. But if you want to get some additional returns and you're looking at something, you could look at some other funds also. But again, like I said, go to step number 1. getting yourself a good advisor is very important. Advisor knows what is good for you, what is bad for you, that in 2 years time your son or daughter is going to get into medical college, you're going to need say 25 lakhs or 30 lakhs per year for 5 years, that is about 1.5-2 crores. That money maybe should be in a short, ultra short bond fund or a short term income fund, or maybe some part of that asset could be in multi asset. That specific hand holding has to be done by an advisor, and therefore not knowing when to invest is perfectly all right. But if you have a method of say technicals or something because of which you decide, then fine, find a technicals person and then decide. But is it possible to time the market? Well, it is possible to somewhat time the market. At least you can avoid big losses, right? So you can avoid being in the market at the extreme end or quickly coming into the market at the bottom, right? So some of these things you can do. Will it improve your returns? Maybe marginally, maybe not. Will it protect you from the downside? Reasonably, yes. Is it possible for everybody to do it? No. You have to have tremendous control over your greed. Because if the market is at a high, or it's at an all-time high, the PEs are high and the earnings are not keeping pace, maybe it's a time to stop investing. I'm not saying withdraw, but stop investing. So some of these things, some of these tricks and tips might work, but to think these tricks and tips will be available on YouTube and for free, it is not going to work. And if you can't find any great value add in some of the videos which we make, you should stop watching, because there's too much of nonsense going into your head or just being repetitive. I'm being repetitive so many times, right? So be careful about what you're listening also.